So good morning to all of you. So in continuation of our discussion on mass spectrometry or mass spectrum analysis, so today we will see what exactly is the mass spectrum and how to determine the molecular ion, and also a little more information regarding how to read the mass spec for extracting best information out of the available data. Okay. So first question that actually is there in my first lecture is, so why bother spectroscopy? So this is the first thing, because when you go to a pharmaceutical industry, you always will deal with chemicals. As a chemist, as a synthetic chemist, as a natural product chemist or analyst, whatever is your role in the pharmaceutical industry, you will always have some chemical in your hand. So your objective will always be to ascertain the identity of the material, and also to qualitatively and quantitatively determine the identity of the compound. So here we also will be asked to ascertain identity or purity of the known substance. So here we have an unknown substance for which you have to establish the structure, chemistry, purity, etc. And in the second case, let's say you are a pharmaceutical chemist or a pharmaceutical analyst, and you will be supplied with a known chemical, and you will be asked to ascertain whether the claimed purity is correct or not. Okay, just like the way how pharmaceutical analyst will get purity. Okay, a tablet will be given to you with the claimed quantity, something like 100 milligrams or something like that, and you will be asked to ascertain the purity or quantity. So structure of an organic compound. Okay, most of the chemicals that we have in pharmaceutical sector are organic compounds. So whenever an unknown organic compound is there, to determine its structure means qualitative information. First thing that we need is its elemental composition, then molecular formula, then molecular weight. These three come under one segment. Then comes the type of functional groups that are there in the organic compound, molecular framework, three-dimensional structure. So in the elemental composition, we will come to know whether carbon is there or not, H is there or not, N is there or not, O, X, halogens are there or not. This is what we will determine. In case of molecular formula, so how many carbons are there, how many protons are there, how many oxygens are there, or how many other elements are there, that is what we will determine. In case of molecular weight, what is the molecular weight of the compound is what we are going to determine. In case of functional groups, whether aldehyde is there or alcohol is there or amines are there. So these type of data is obtained over here. In case of molecular framework, so though we have a molecular weight, molecular formula and functional groups, what is the structure of the organic compound framework? And here this is the three-dimensional structure. Let's say here we have cholesterol with us or cyclohexanol. So in three-dimensional structure, it will give us whether it is in chair conformation or boat conformation, and whether this hydroxy group is axial or equatorial. So this is the way. Let's say we have another hydroxy group over here. Then you will have chirality. Okay, so if this is the case, so relative alignment will also be given in 3D structure. So what are the methods that we commonly use? Mass spectrometry, that is the technique that we are going to discuss today, that helps us obtain molecular formula, molecular weight. This is not actually spectroscopy. Okay, it is a spectrometry technique, because we don't use any electromagnetic radiation to interact with matter. That thing is not coming over here. So that's why mass spectroscopy is a misconception. Okay, so it must be called as mass spectrometry. The second one is infrared spectroscopy. It helps us obtain information regarding functional groups. And then comes nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, either proton or carbon or nitrogen or phosphorus. They all help us in obtaining two-dimensional as well as three-dimensional structure to some extent. And we have X-ray crystallography, where we will get the absolute configuration of any organic compound in three-dimensional shape. Okay, so these are the techniques that we use regularly to obtain structure of an organic compound, means qualitative information of an organic compound. Now, so this is what we have seen. In case of mass spectrometry, we submit the sample and then we will get the ions are generated, ions are analyzed, and the data is submitted to a computer. So this is a classical representation of a mass spectrum, where on the x-axis you will have m by z value, and on y-axis relative abundance. Okay, percentile score is given. Among the peaks that we have over here, the peak with maximum intensity is what we call it as a base peak, and all the remaining ion fragments are what we call them as fragment ions. And the ion with the maximum m by z value is usually conceived as molecular ion peak. Okay, so this is the mass spectrum of ascorbic acid. Okay, so this is the enlarged version. So this is molecular ion peak, this is base peak, and these are fragment ion peaks. So normally, or I can use the word classical mass spectral analysis usually consider only three terminologies. One is base peak, molecular ion peak, and fragment ion peaks. Molecular ion peak provides you the information regarding molecular weight, molecular formula. Base peak as well as fragment ion study provides you information regarding functional groups as well as structural arrangement that is there in an organic compound. Okay, so now usually structural elucidation of unknown compound starts with mass spec, ends with mass spec. Okay, starts with mass spec, ends with mass spec. No other technique, no other spectroscopy technique can put boundaries. So in case of mass spec, it defines molecular weight, that is one boundary. Second one is molecular formula, that is another boundary within which you have to think. In IR and NMR, what you will get is here plus or minus, whether a functional group is there or not, you will get, but you will not get any quantitative information. That is the problem with IR. In case of NMR, it will give you number and type of protons that are there within an organic compound. Okay, so the intensities are relativistic. So while discussing about the NMR spectroscopy, you will come to know about this perplexing condition. But in case of NMR also, you will not be able to find any kind of boundary. Okay, absolutely, boundaries can be perceived only from mass spectrometry. Okay, for example, let's say if I give you a compound like this. Okay, so two benzene rings are there. So this we will get in IR, it cannot confirm. In case of NMR, it can to some extent. Because here NMR will tell you mono substituted benzene. Okay, so if you see that and chlorobenzene. Okay, so this one biphenyl compound as well as chlorobenzene, both will have almost similar kind of pattern. similar kind of pattern. So what will happen is, in case of NMR, it will let you know that it's a monosubstituted benzene is there because this is symmetric. So both are the same. So monosubstituted benzene like NMR will come. You cannot ascertain how many carbons are there or how many protons are there absolutely, okay, in absolute terms. The only thing that can put some kind of boundary is mass spec, because in mass spec you will get a value double the quantity, double the weight of phenyl unit. So that's the reason why we can think in attaching one benzene to another benzene so that monosubstituted benzenes will come. Okay, so this type of problems will be there. So mass spec will let you know about the molecular weight and molecular formula, that is from where we will start. And after, once the structure, a proposed structure is provided by using IR, NMR, etc., 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 proposed structure will be given. Proposed, okay, it's not absolute structure. Proposed structure will be there to confirm whether a particular functional group is there or not. We take help from mass spec through fragment analysis. Fragment analysis. Okay, so this is the way how. This is the way how mass spectrometry helps you in the big unknown compound structure and elucidation. Starts with mass spec and ends with mass spec. Okay, so while studying, okay, case studies of several compounds are there with me. Don't worry, I'll explain there all these concepts again and again so that you will be able to clearly understand the concepts. But here, as you all knew, we have different types of ionic techniques are there, ionization techniques are there, including electron impact. Okay, electron impact is there, chemical ionization, electrospray ionization, APPI, APCI, DART is there, etc. DESI is there. So many are there. Okay, so in each one of them, you will be able to see different types of ions. Okay, so I'm trying to tell you all these things. Molecular ion, a molecular ion is what we have seen just now. It is produced by the ionization of an organic compound. Usually it is observed at the right side end of the mass spec with the highest M by Z value. Second one is quasi-molecular ion. These quasi-molecular ions are ions that are produced from soft ionization techniques. Like, let's say in electrospray ionization technique, M plus Na plus or M plus H plus ions will come. One is molecular ion, quasi-molecular ion, fragment ion, and then rearrangement ions. Quite possible that in case of mass fragmentation, there is always a possibility that ions can rearrange. Like straight chain alkanes will be rearranged to secondary alkanes or ternary alkanes. So this is the term we use regularly in LCMS, okay, bioanalytical field. Parent ion, daughter ion. Okay, parent ion and daughter ion. Means if an ion produces another ion, the former is called the parent ion and latter is called the daughter ion. So it is like M plus is the ion. It gives N plus. This is called parent ion. This is daughter ion. Okay, so it is like that. So don't ask me why it is called as daughter ion and not son ion. Okay, no. Okay, daughter ion, because the daughter ion can produce another ion, MnO plus. Okay, it is like that. The next one is metastable ions. Metastable ions means lying between stable and unstable. This is a very interesting ion segment, where let's say in case of mass spec, we all knew that ionization chamber will be there, analyzer will be there, and you will have detector. Okay, so M plus ion has to travel from here to here to be detected. But in most of the cases, M plus, what will happen, because it has energy, so it will be fragmented and then P plus, and this P will be recognized over here. So N plus and O plus, these two cannot be observed in detector, or we cannot predict in the beginning, M plus ion. Okay, so that's the reason why this type of ions are what we call them as metastable ions, which normally cannot be detected because they are highly unstable and they cannot sustain, they cannot survive the duration that we have to travel from here to here, to here. Okay, so they are more like reaction intermediates. Multiply charged ions also can be there because if you have a protein with amino acids can be acidic or basic. We all knew that one. Okay, let's say we have a protein. It contains so many amino acids, but 5 of them are basic amino acids. Okay, so what they will do, basic amino acids will pick up protons. So M plus 5 basic entities are there. So 5H. What will be the charge? 5 plus. Okay, so if molecular weight of a protein is 100, okay, so it will become 105 by 5. So where you will get the peak? At a 21. At a 21. Instead of 100 or 101, we are going to get the molecular ion at 21. So you should not misconstrue this type of observation as a faulty mass spec. No, it is not like that. Molecular ion depends upon the chemistry of the analyte. Okay, so it's very, very important thing that we all need to understand. The next one is isotopic ions. Isotopic ions are very, very important because you can see this one. One hydrogen can exist as a proton, deuterium, tritium. Okay, means H1, H2, H3. All these three differ in their atomic weight. In the same way, carbon 12 is there and carbon 13 is also there. Okay, so if you see the isotopic abundance, this will be like 90%. This is approximately 10%. Okay, so this is more like this. In case of protons, this will be 99%. All the remaining will comprise of 1%. It is like that. Okay, so isotopic abundance of these peaks will lead to ion peaks, like instead of M plus ion, we all will get M plus 1 or M plus 2 will come. Okay, so these are not unnatural. They are because of the isotopic abundance, isotopic peaks. Okay, let's say if we have chlorine or bromine, these are very well known. Here M plus 2 will come. Okay, so these we will discuss separately. We have a separate slide for that. Okay, so all of you are able to understand what are the meanings of these terms: molecular ion, quasi-molecular ion, fragment ion, rearrangement ion, parent ion, daughter ion, metastable ion, multiply charged ion, and isotopic ion. Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you. The next one is we need to understand very, very important ion that we all have to look for whenever a mass spec is given to you is molecular ion. Okay, so a molecular ion provide key information on molecular weight and elemental composition. Okay, we all knew this one. The molecular ion provides key information on molecular weight as well as elemental composition. Elemental composition means how many carbons are there, protons are there, oxygens are there, nitrogens are there, halogens and heteroatoms, others. Okay, it is like that. Like in case of benzene, it is C6H6. This is what we call it as elemental composition. And it also can provide molecular weight information. Molecular weight means 78 for benzene. Okay, so this is it. But appearance of molecular ion is a very, very important topic, studied very well. Okay, so many studies have happened. It all depends upon the functional groups that we have in an organic compound. For example, so this is propanol. This is propanol. Okay, so if you subject propanol to EIMS, okay, so you will get OH plus. This ion will come, means M plus ion will come. Whereas if you take OH, sorry, not this one. Okay, so if you take propanol in the EIMS, you will get molecular ion like this. Okay, because positive charge will be there, one electron is knocked out from one or the other place on this structure. So this is a standard representation of molecular ion. But when you take isopropanol, if you use EIMS, then you will get plus. Okay, what does it mean? This is M plus, but here M minus 18 plus will come. M minus 18 plus will come. What is the reason? Because the secondary alcohols are thermally not very stable. So when we use 70 electron volts in EIMS, definitely the compound is going to be dehydrated very easily. So thereby M minus 18 peak will come. So if you wanted to obtain molecular ion of a compound, you need to have basic information regarding the compound. So regarding functional groups like primary alcohol or secondary alcohol, is there an ester, is there or not? Or is it a diazonium salt? Diazonium salts are thermally not very stable. If you heat, diazonium salts are going to be dissociated into nitrogen will go out. Okay, that is what we knew. Next one is a type of compound. If the compound is thermolabile like a protein, or is it a terpene? Is it a secondary alcohol? Is it a glycoside like digitalis glycoside, which is thermolabile? So you need to have information regarding type of compound, because type of compound is also going to influence. One is functional group, type of compound, and type of ionization. Let's say if you are using EIMS, isopropanol is going to get destroyed. Whereas if you use softer ionization techniques like APPI, you are going to get the molecular ion for this compound. Okay, so these are the three things that decides appearance of molecular ion. So why are we discussing a lot about this topic right now, right here? The reason is, let's say you are in a pharmaceutical industry and you are either synthesizing a compound, or some customer gave you a compound for analysis. Then what is it that you need to know? You have to ask the customer, or because if you are preparing the compound, or if you are in analysis department and somebody from biotechnology or from medicinal chemistry division is providing you the compound, then you have to ask if chemistry information is available or not. What is the type of compound? Okay, these are the two things that you need to understand. Then you have to decide what is the type of ionization method that you have to use. Okay, so let's say insulin. I gave you insulin as the sample for analysis. What is the ionization you will use? Hello? What kind of ionization method you will use for insulin? Hello? Are you able to listen? Are you able to listen to me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, if you respond, then I'll come to know whether you are there or not, and whether you are able to listen to me or not. If you simply keep mum, I cannot know, okay? Because I'm not a god, so that I can go into every one of the cameras and then see whether you are alive or not, okay? You have to respond. I gave you insulin for analysis. To obtain molecular ion, what kind of ionization method you will propose? Now you have to answer this question. Hello?
Sir.
Can you answer this question?
Sir,
If insulin is provided to you, what kind of ionization method you will use?
Electron spray
ionization.
Very good. Electrospray ionization. Okay. So will you get the molecular ion?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Which one you will get? M plus or M plus H?
M plus.
Because you are supposed to get a quasi-ion, quasi-molecular ion. Okay, not the molecular ion. Let's say I gave you cholesterol, a highly nonpolar neutral molecule. What type of ionization method you will use to obtain molecular ion? Our objective is to obtain molecular ion. So what type of ionization method you will use for cholesterol? Hello?
Sir. Hello.
Can we use
ionization method, sir.
Which one?
Hard ionization method, sir.
Very good, very good. Can you give me one example?
EI, sir, electron impact ionization.
EI is a very important technique for us. Very good, very good. Okay. So that is fine. Okay. So in case of identifying molecular ion, it must be the ion of highest mass in the spectrum. It must be an odd electron ion, means from the molecule, one of the electron is removed, not the functional group or proton. It must be capable of yielding important ions in the mass region of the spectrum by loss of logical neutral species. What does it mean? In the previous example of alcohol, so if you are able to see M plus, so you should also be able to see M plus minus 18. Okay. So if you are getting M plus and you are not getting M plus minus 18, then you have to again search for some other logical fragment ions. So if this is it, from here M minus 18 can come, M minus 14 also can come, means by removal of the methyl group from the second end. Okay, so both are possible. And if you clearly observe, M minus 18 minus 14 will also be there. M minus 15. Okay, means first degradation, second degradation. It is like that. So if a molecular ion, if you are proposing a molecular ion, you should also be able to support the chemistry by proposing possible fragment ions. Okay, it is identification of molecular ion itself is a big exercise for mass spectral analysis. I hope you understood the concept here. The next one is, there are a few rules are there, because millions and millions of molecules were analyzed by this time for their mass spectrum. So if you observe the molecular ion patterns of various organic compounds, if you take water, methyl, etc., whenever there is a nitrogen in even number, okay, so the molecular weight is even. And all others, carbon containing or non-carbon containing molecules, always the molecular weight is even. Whereas when nitrogen is in odd number, 1, 3, 5, etc., the molecular weight invariably will become odd. Okay. So whenever you are observing molecular ion, okay. So if the molecular ion is even numbered, then you can say the compound does not contain nitrogen, or if nitrogen is there, we can say that there are even number of nitrogens are there. Okay, so even number of nitrogens are there. So that is the way how we can figure out presence or absence of an element by using molecular ion. The second one is isotopic clusters. As I told you, in case of carbon, okay, so A and A plus 1, A plus 2. A is the molecular ion plus 1, molecular ion plus 2. Okay, so if you have carbon, this is carbon 12, this is carbon 13. You can see out of if we have in a molecule 100 C12s are there, then you will have 1.11 C13s will be there. Okay, so in the same way, you can see in case of bromine, there is equal proportion of bromine M and M plus 2. In case of chlorine, the ratio is almost like 1:3. 1:3. Further, we also can have, in case of sulfur, you can have M plus ion, M plus 2 ion. And in case of silicon, M plus 1 ion can be there, and also M plus 2 can be there. As we have very few compounds with the silicon, we usually don't see any interference of this element with the organic compounds. In case of oxygen, the contributions are very less. So that's the reason why it also usually don't interfere with the with our observations. In case of proton, you can see that it is dominated by M plus, whereas M plus 1 is almost nothing. In case of nitrogen, the contribution is 1/3 of 13. Okay, so in case of proteins, where you can find so many nitrogens, let's say if we have 20 amino acids are there, 20 nitrogens will be there. 20 into 0.37 7.4. Okay, so in that way, contribution from M plus 1 is going to be increased. So this is one reason why when you are going to analyze molecular weight of an organic compound, it is only up to 1000. You can rely on the regular observations. Let's say if you have 283, 889, etc., these molecular weights, then they will agree with the molecular formula. But if you go above 1000, if it is 1025, 5 may have contributions from contribution from the M plus 1 ion, M plus 1 of carbon, oxygen, sulfur, etc. Okay, so that is the reason why for low molecular weight compounds, the molecular formula readily agrees with the molecular ion that we are going to observe. As we go upwards into kilodaltons, then the error percentage will be more. That's the reason why we consider 50 kD, but not 50,283. It will not be there. So we stop here, 50 kD. Okay, it is like that. Friends, I hope you understood the concept here. Okay, so interpretation of electron impact mass spec or mass spec, because electron impact mass spec is a classical way of learning mass spec analysis. From here, we are going to extrapolate our knowledge to the other mass spec analysis. Okay, so here the first step is you have to determine the molecular ion peak. Second one is logical loss of neutral fragments to obtain fragment ion sequence. Third one is nitrogen rule has to be applied. Fourth one is fragmentation analysis. Okay, so these are the 4 steps that we have to always apply to obtain a logical conclusion to spectral analysis. So friends, with this I conclude today's lecture. So today what we have seen, we have seen what is mass spectrum. Okay, what are the types of ions that are observed in mass spectrum? And we came to know about the information that we get from mass spec. And we have seen nitrogen rule. Maybe you might have already got some idea on nitrogen rule in B pharmacy. And we also have seen the sequence we follow for mass spec analysis. Okay, so in the next class, I'll explain you how actually a mass spectrum or molecular ion, from molecular ion, molecular weight as well as molecular formula are obtained. From molecular formula, how to obtain the chemistry of an organic compound will also be discussed in the next class.